So the first motor mount is in, and it's the transmission mount. So if you've ever removed the transmission from your H22 in your 97 or 2001 Prelude, it's not exactly the easiest thing to do. The design is, well, this is what it is, so you have to deal with it. Once you get it to a point where it can't come up anymore, it needs to go in, and the alignment dowels should line up. And what I do is I come from underneath on the back of the housing, and I give it a little love tap or two. And eventually, if you're not jammed up on the keyways, on the spindle teeth, what you can do is rotate the flywheel or the crank and get that to hopefully line up. Just give it remember, counterclockwise from the crankshaft. Give it a slight turn, just a little one, and come back over to the back of the housing and give it a little tap. I do that a couple times until I feel like I've got it. Now, this is something I do all by myself, and it is a pain in the butt. But nonetheless, once I give it that tap and it just tink right in, I can tell I'm lined up. Takes a little effort. I try to use a transmission jack from a gift that was given to me. It's not the greatest, but it worked. I got it up. I used my engine hoist to get my rotation so that I was aligned with my dowels. I removed the jack, and then I have a little bit of leeway. I know that my input shaft is trying to mate with the clutch and flywheel area on that spindle, on those keys. So I have to position it correctly and give it a little tap. What can also help is maybe putting a bolt or two, trying to see if they'll start. Remember that you don't want to have any weight on that input shaft if you can prevent that. This is not the easiest job. Anyway, now that the transmission's in place, I have 4 bolts holding it together. I've got the 2 on the top, the large, like 84 millimeter long, down where you would have your just below the slave cylinder. I've got the 2 up here, and then 1 on the other side that I'll have to remove when I do the T-bracket. So the first thing I did was I wanted to put this bracket in. If you're ever installing or uninstalling the transmission, great tip, remove your studs for your aluminum bracket. That can be achieved, here's one of them here, by using the nut from a different stud. These are 17 millimeter. Put 2 of them on here and try to lock it into place. Be gentle, lock it into place, but don't kill yourself. And then bust it loose on the bottom one and use the top to thread it down. Same concept, 2 nuts, thread it down till it bottoms out, locks in place. The cool thing about the one closest to the headlight on this stud is it has like a 10 millimeter, 7 millimeter head on it, and you can use that, crank that one down, that will get it started. And that one's already good to go. I can go ahead and put some threads on it, so I'm going to get these bolts on. I've got this one in the back. I'm trying to start it. Be gentle with these, don't be too rough. Now what I want to talk about on this, on the motor mount, this is the Explicit Speed Performance transmission mount, and this is the stock aluminum bracket. So I went to put this on, and you can tell that there is a washer, and there's 2 of them on both sides. Those add about 2.5 millimeters to the space, and had a little struggle getting it on. So I went ahead and contacted ESP, Explicit Speed Performance, and they got back to me within like 20 minutes, and they're like, hey, maybe your bracket is slightly smashed in a little bit. So I said, hey, that's a great idea. I didn't even think about that. I thought maybe it was just a little too big with those big washers. So I went ahead, opened it up, and I used a little technique where you take, say, like a threaded rod and a nut on one end to stop on this side, put it through one side, put a nut on the other end with some washers that'll hold here, and then a couple washers and a bolt, and then I just tightened it up until it started to push out. I probably gained about 1.5 millimeter, and I was able to file down lightly on the surface areas here of the aluminum bracket, file it down real smooth until I felt like I could force a little bit, but it's not catching on anything. I was able to slide that down with a little force nonetheless, but it is what it is. Got it in there. I'm secure with my bolt here. Haven't tightened this down. These are tightened about 50 foot-pounds. I believe it's 47. I may be incorrect on that. If you remember or you know, comment section below. Here we go on this. This should be, I believe it's 47 foot-pounds, along with these are 47. I may be thinking of the transmission bolts, but I'll correct that in the on the screen right about here somewhere. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten all these down. I just wanted to point out that this Explicit Speed Performance mount, I did have to do some slight alterations to the aluminum bracket. Now, if you read your installation instructions, you'll see that it says some modifications may be necessary. Is it worth just filing down? Probably about maybe 1 millimeter on both sides. Totally. Take a grinder to it. You better be careful. You've got a milling machine, fantastic. You can squeeze something in there, mill that down, even better. Be nice to your equipment. Remember, these brackets ain't cheap, and waiting 3 months for this, you better be kind. Alright, anyway, I'm going to tighten all these down, get it nice and secure, and we're going to move on to our T-bracket and rear mount. Okay, so we're all finished up tightening down the ESP mount for the transmission. Torqued everything down to 50 foot-pounds. Now the transmission bolts, which are 17 millimeter all the way around, there are, what is it, 8 or 6 of them. They're 47 foot-pounds. And I couldn't find the specifics on the manufacturer's repair manual for that specific studs, those 3 stud bolts, and then this stud that goes in here, this bolt here, into that. So I put 50 foot-pounds on the ones to the transmission on the aluminum bracket, and then I tightened down here with man strength. That's all I can say. I didn't over torque it. I felt like it was nice and firm, and we'll just kind of go from there. Once we get it started, yeah, we'll see where she plays. Let her run, do some solid driving, normal daily routine. We'll check everything and tighten it down accordingly. Unless I find it, or after you've posted this, maybe you guys will post something on the comment section below for that specific torque. I'm not going to exceed 50 foot-pounds on any of those. I think that's sufficient. So now we're going to be going to the back of the motor, and we're going to be replacing the T-bracket. You can kind of see it back there. You can kind of see that red down there. I'll show you once I get to it. Sorry for the dirtiness. She's getting clean eventually. So here we go. Okay, so I have successfully removed the T-bracket. As you can tell, the large space where you can see the light. So the T-bracket's not technically very easy to get to. You can access it from underneath, and that is the motor mount, and it looks like maybe a previous owner upgraded that. I don't recall OEM having any red urethane bushings inside of it or whatever. So anyway, things you have to look out for is the main wire harness, your shift linkage, coolant lines. The only thing I had attached was one bolt that attaches to the block, and then the one large bolt that attaches to the mount there, the rear mount, as you can tell. So here is the T-bracket, and this is what you would see from underneath, and that would be autofocus here, but apparently we don't autofocus. Oh, come on, camera. Alright, so what you see here is underneath the car. And here is the T-bracket that replaces it. Ooh, what was that? So as you can tell, there's a little bit of difference in structure. We'll go ahead and we're going to get a weight comparison real quick. This is what you see underneath. There are one bolt here, 17 millimeter, and then a 10 millimeter right there that holds onto a bracket, a little U bracket that holds onto the a wiring harness that comes across. These three right here mount to the transmission. Now I had put one in during the installation, removed it. Now I've secured the vehicle with the transmission jack as an assist. I still have the transmission bracket mount. I still have the front mount towards the front of the car and the actual front of the motor mount. Those are all attached, so the vehicle is secure. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get a weight comparison real quick. Okay, so here's the scale. Then turn it on. We'll get it tared, 0 ounces. Tare, 0. Alright, here is new. And there are still the bolts. I'm not going to remove those. We're going to get an average weight here. This thing's not exactly that great to fit on it. We've got 74.5, and that's with the included hardware that was shipped this way. So that is 74.5 ounces. Okay. Comparatively to our stock OEM, super greasy, super dirty, 54.57, so 54.6. There's an additional 20 ounces of weight. Is it worth it? Well, I think so. What do we not have here? We're not going to have this hole here for our associated wiring U-bracket harness. So these things you'll have to take account for. You've got the 3 holes here, the one there, and the one there. Let's take a quick comparison and see what we're missing. Yeah, I do wear sandals when I work. Some other people do as well. Not a crime. Just do it as your own precaution. So here we go. This would be facing passenger side. This would be facing the passenger side. So right away, we've got the 3 brackets. Right? This would be for your mount, just like it is here. And there's an included hardware here because on this side would be one as well. Now there is one here, but there's nothing there. So I would imagine the included hardware that came with it. And then you've got the 2 here. So technically, you've got the motor mount, the block, and the 3 on the transmission. Now if you're looking, you've got the 2 on the transmission, the 1 on the block, and the 1 for the motor mount. So you are missing this, and you're missing the 10 millimeter that goes right here. So something to think about when you're purchasing the T-bracket. Nice good solid welds, good included hardware. Weight wise, yeah, there it is, a 20 ounce difference. 20 ounce difference. This is pressed steel, stamped out, and then tack welded together. This is cold rolled, probably forged and welded together. Stout stuff. I don't think that'll ever break. At least I don't think so. So there's a comparison. I'm going to install this and remove the mount. And we'll go further in until we hit that front of the motor mount, and then I have a timing belt to do. So that's it for part 1. Thanks for staying along and riding the course during this whole operation. Okay, so this was probably the worst one bolt I've had to deal with in a long time on this car. Right there in the back is where your rear mount and T-bracket, that's where the rear mount attaches. I had a heck of a hard time getting one of those bolts off. It was terrible. And Yeah, don't ever want to have to do that again. So anyway, yeah, let's move on. So quick tip, I removed this metal stop, as it were, on the, if the engine were to torque back and stop it from slamming up against the mount, I guess. So I remove this, make it easier to get the T-bracket off, and then these, I was curious, this must have been a previous owner, kind of hard to do it one-handed, but it's just an insert. And that's kind of cool. It's probably, what's that company, Energy Suspension or something like that. That's exactly what it looks like. On both sides, it just kind of falls into place, nice and easy. Kind of a nice deal. I like it, but we're not reusing it. So, yeah, that's where we're at. Just wanted to give you that heads up. We're going to go ahead and get that installed. Sorry for the clips of this video, are probably pretty choppy and all over the place, but yeah, that's what this one's all about. So we're going to clean up, we're going to finish cleaning up, and then we'll get the T-bracket and the rear mount back on, and we'll move forward. Okay, so I removed the hardware, I did a weight on this without the bolts, and it's 68 ounces. So 68 ounces, that's a pretty big difference. So I'm going to leave it there. We're going to cut out some of the video and we'll do a second part of, that's pretty much all I can do. We've got a timing belt to get done and everything back together. So that's all I can do for now. If you are liking it and you want to subscribe, give a thumbs up, give a comment down below. Let me know what you think and how this project's going. Thanks, guys.